The city lights danced in his eyes, or so I once believed. In the beginning, our world was a silver-screen dream, captured in glamorous black and white stills. There was Arthur, his arm securely around my waist, a confident smile playing on his lips as the camera flashed. We were the perfect couple, a portrait of post-war bliss. He would bring me gardenias, their scent filling our small apartment with a promise of forever. We'd waltz in the living room to the crackle of the radio, his hand firm in mine, my head resting on his shoulder. In those captured moments, our smiles were genuine, our future seemingly as bright and clear as the string of pearls he'd fastened around my neck. He was my anchor, my everything. The world outside, with its lingering shadows of conflict, couldn't touch us. I saw our life as a beautiful, unfolding story, and in every frame we were flawlessly, irrevocably happy. I was convinced this was love, the kind the poets wrote about, a fortress built for two. But a fortress can so easily become a prison. The change was gradual, a slow poisoning I barely noticed at first. It began with his glances across a crowded room. At a dinner party, while I was mid-sentence, sharing a story with friends, his eyes would meet mine. There was no warmth in them, only a cool, condescending dismissal that made my words catch in my throat. Suddenly I felt foolish, childish. He would steer conversations away from me, answering questions directed at me with a charming laugh, as if my thoughts were not worth hearing. He called it protecting me from the tiresome chatter of others. At gatherings, he'd keep me close, his hand a proprietary weight on my arm, isolating me from friends until I felt like a mere accessory to his well-tailored suit. The gardenias still came, but now they felt less like a gift and more like a payment for my silence, for my compliance. My world, once expansive, had shrunk to the size of our apartment, its walls echoing with his opinions, my own voice lost somewhere in the space between. The storm that had been gathering on the horizon finally broke one Tuesday evening. The rain lashed against the windows, mirroring the tempest inside. I had dared to suggest I might take a secretarial course, a small ambition to have something of my own. His face, illuminated by a single stark lamp, twisted into a mask of disbelief and then anger. The shadows in the dimly lit room danced and stretched, turning his features into something menacing. "A course?" he sneered, his voice a low growl that vibrated with barely contained rage. "And who will cook my dinner? Who will see to the house?" The argument escalated, his words becoming weapons, each one striking a blow against my fragile sense of self. He paced the room, a predator in his cage, his shadow looming large and monstrous on the wall behind him. In that moment, the illusion shattered completely. The man I loved was gone, replaced by a stranger whose affection was a chain, whose home was a cage. The love I had mistaken for a fortress was in fact the very thing I needed to escape. A quiet resolve settled over me, as calm and cold as the night air. While he slept, oblivious in his victory, I moved with a newfound purpose. I packed a single worn suitcase, not with beautiful dresses, but with the few things that were truly mine: a book of poetry, my mother's locket, the simple clothes that didn't require his approval. Each item was a small act of reclamation. With my coat buttoned against the downpour, I stood at the door and looked back one last time at the life I was leaving. On the polished hall table, beneath the portrait of our smiling faces, I placed my house keys. The soft click they made was the loudest, most liberating sound I had ever heard. I didn't look back as I walked out into the rain-slicked street. The water washed over me, not with cold, but with the clean, sharp promise of a new beginning. Each step was a quiet declaration of freedom, a journey away from the suffocating shadows and toward an unknown but finally hopeful horizon.